Yo guys, so today I'll be sharing on this resale EC called 100 Palms Residences and how it actually managed to hit the $3 million mark and also cross $2,000 per square feet. This is definitely one of the highest PSF ever transacted for EC in the resale market, and today we want to find out why it actually outperformed its neighboring condos, namely the Garden Residences and also Affinity at Serangoon. In this video, I will break down on the factors as to why 100 Palms Residences, especially for the 5 bedrooms, actually outperform the other 2 condos for their 5 bedrooms. So stay tuned. Okay, so right now we can see 100 Palms EC actually launched in 2017 and it was actually sold out in 7 hours. So I think this is based on last time the normal queuing, They are gonna be all at the show flat, and of course it's gonna take very long. And the number of units at 100 Palms is actually 531 units, and they were all sold out 22nd of July. And they fetch an average PSF of 836, and the number of people that actually applied for the units they received was 2,700 e-applications. So I think this is definitely one of the hottest EC ever. And if you compare even in the recent years, there hasn't been an EC that is even more hotly contested than 100 Palms Residences. Alright, so this newspaper article from 99.co shows the 3 records that this 100 Palm EC unit break. This is the first EC to cross the $3 million mark, first EC to also cross $2,000 per square feet, and it is the highest capital appreciation. Okay, so before we go into the exact details as to why there is a difference in performance even in the same district for the different condos, we want to see for the entire OCR region how much the 5 bedrooms are actually transacted for. So over here, I never go and sort out whether it's a XEC or is it just a resale condo, but I just based on the 5 bedrooms transacted. So if we just look at the top 3, we have Panorama at 2140 PSF, and then K-Suites 2101 PSF, and then next up we already have 100 Palms Residences at 2001 PSF. So if you compare to the entire region, it actually outperformed a lot of other resale condos as well. Of course, over here you can see actually for 100 Palms Residences, it's not even that new. It TOP in 2019. So when we look at, let's say, Grandeur Park Residences, it only transacted at 1944 PSF, and actually it TOP 2020. So it's even earlier. And of course, the ones I highlighted over here in red, they are all District 19. And we can see Garden Residences achieving 1881 PSF despite it being 2 years younger at 2021. In the same district itself, we can see for Riverfront Residences, we have 1679 PSF, The Vales 1538 PSF, Huron Bay 1514 PSF. So these are all the transactions in the area itself. So Garden Residences TOP in 2021, Riverfront Residences TOP in 2023. They both, for the 5 bedrooms, transacted lower than 100 Palms Residences in the same district, and it TOP in 2019. So of course for Riverfront Residences, even though it is much younger than 100 Palms Residences, they don't have the school factor, which is Rosyth. The Garden Residences is the interesting one because over here, even though it is 2 years younger, it is still 1 km within the same school. And for the upcoming MRT, we also can see benefiting both 100 Palms and Garden Residences. So why did 100 Palms transact at a higher PSF than Garden Residences? Okay, so now when we look at the entire OCR region for 5 bedroom, we can see based on quantum, even this 5 bedroom unit for 100 Palms Residences is easily in the top 10. So this is rank number 7 over here, and the quantum we see here is 3.058 million. And it's not too far off from the other resale condos. It's totally different areas. From District 19, you're comparing to even D20, D15 here. So over here, I have the entire OCR 5 bedroom demand and supply situation. I think this will be quite relevant in order to understand what is going on in the 5 bedroom market over here. This is the search criteria I have. 5 bedrooms up to 2025. So this will exclude all the new launches. And you can see over here we have a total of 91 transactions, And the sizes, right, they range from 1,292 square feet all the way to 3,757. The price can also range from 1.39 million to 3.66 million. So for these 197 units, of course, it can include quite a few duplicates. We have the demand and supply ratio. Demand is the number of units transacted in 91 for the past 1 year, and then we have 197 listings. So the ratio comes up to be 0.461. So it means for every 1 unit sold, we kind of have 2 units still on the market lah. And over here, just to share an example, for example, we see at Treasure at Tampines. So this one, we got a total of 9 transactions over the past 1 year, and current listings only there are 5 of them. So definitely in terms of the demand and supply ratio, I think Treasure at Tampines is very strong in this aspect, especially for the 5 bedders when you compare to the overall market in the entire OCR region. Okay, so now we look deeper into District 19 itself. So using the same criteria, but I just change it to just District 19 alone. We can see that for the 5 bedrooms here, the number of transactions in the past 1 year, we have 22. And current listings today, we have 49. Okay, so now we filter deeper into the District 19 itself. So using the same search criteria, right, we can see over here there is a total of 22 transactions for the 5 bedrooms in District 19. And the range is from 1,300 square feet to 2,008 square feet. And the price range from 1.92 million to 3.15 million. And we have a current listing total of 49 units. So I mean, of course, there would be duplicates over here. But overall, when we just look at this, the demand and supply ratio, 22:49, we are looking at 0.448. When we compare to, for example, the entire OCR region, it is kind of in line. But when you compare to, let's say, like Huron Bay, so there is 6 transactions here, but there's only 4 listings available. So when you compare to that particular district itself, I would think the demand for like Huron Bay condo, right, it will outperform this entire D19 itself. So now when we look at D19 for the 5 bedroom new launch, we only have 1, which is Trump Park. And Trump Park, right, we have a total of 8 transactions over the past 1 year. So means only 8 5 bedroom units has been sold. And the transaction range is from 1,500 square feet to 1,800 square feet. Price, we are looking at 3.87 million to 4.31 million. So average about 4 million plus. And when we compare that to the OCR new launch 5 bedrooms, there is a total of 123 transactions of all the 5 bedrooms. So of course this includes the EC, because today we are still talking about 100 Palms Residences, which is the XEC, and there is a total of 136 units that is unsold in the OCR for the 5 bedrooms new launch. So this also includes EC as well. So I never really do the ratio for this one because I think it's a bit awkward in a sense. You are mixing with EC and condominiums, and you already know that for the EC there is a lot more criteria to the purchase as compared to the condominium. So when I compare using the same ratio like this, I think it will skew the number a lot. So that's why for this one, I'm not going to use the ratio over here. Okay, so right now we are going to compare between these 3 developments in detail: 100 Palms Residences, Affinity at Serangoon, and the Garden Residences. Okay, so for those of you that don't know these 3 condominiums, right, I just give you an overview at the Serangoon North area. 100 Palms Residences, Affinity, Garden Residences. And in the middle over here, we have Serangoon North MRT from the Cross Island line that's coming up. And also we have Rosyth. For 100 Palms Residences, definitely it's not going to have too much difference in terms of the locality to Affinity and Garden Residences. But why did 100 Palms Residences still outperform these 2 developments even though they are much newer? So this is the price chart, right, for 100 Palms Residences, which is in blue color over here. Affinity at Serangoon, which is the red color one, and yellow color will be Garden Residences. Over their entire period, right, for Garden Residences, we only experience about a 9% profit from launch to today. This includes all the bedroom types. I never just include the 5 bedders because I think the transaction volume is not enough to have a real statistic. So I just want to use all the bedrooms to give you an overview of what we see at the different bedroom types for the entire development. So Affinity, we are looking at 13%. And then 100 Palms Residences, impressive 110% from launch till today. We can see 100 Palms Residences, TOP 2019, land size 198,000, and then we have a total of 531 units. So the land density here is 373 square feet per unit. Affinity at Serangoon, TOP 2023, land size we are looking at 296,000 and 1,057 units. So this is 280 square feet per unit. The garden residences, TOP 2021, land size 185,000, land density of 301. I mean, if you look at the numbers itself, yes, definitely 100 Palms residences, the density of the development is a lot less as compared to these two condos. But in my opinion, this is not the main reason why it actually had a very big difference in the performance gains. Okay, so now I'll compare the floor plans across the three different developments. And then here you really see what makes the difference amongst the three developments. So first up, we have the 5-bedroom layout at Garden Residences, 1539 square feet. The first thing I see is the two balconies, one in the master bedroom and one in the living area. So this layout definitely very nice because it's a landscape layout, and on top of that there is a private lift over here, there is a utility. So this kitchen area got dry kitchen, wet kitchen, and then the junior master also got an ensuite. This layout is definitely very well planned, and the 3 bedrooms, right, they are all across each other on one side, and then they have one bathroom for the common toilet, and then this one is also another ensuite to the bedroom 4. So definitely a very good layout for garden residences. Okay, so next up we have Affinity at Serangoon. So this is the most recent transaction, and 1711 square feet. This is the penthouse unit. So this one includes the void space. And if you just take the normal size, right, it will be 1453 square feet. So I'll be just using 1453 as the main comparison in terms of size. I think this layout is also very efficient. Doesn't have the additional balcony in the master bedroom. And this balcony over here for the living room area is a landscape layout. So other than that, you can also say this study area kind of functions as an additional bedroom. But in actual fact, right, there is only 4 bedrooms in total. So this is, in terms of pricing, the closest towards what we see at Garden Residences and 100 Palms Residences. So the 5 bedrooms at Affinity, they are already at the cluster houses. So that's why this is the biggest 4-bedroom type that we have over here. It's more of a 4+ study rather than a 4-bedroom. Yeah. Then other than that, they have a dry kitchen, wet kitchen area. So all these are quite standard. Okay, last but not least, we have 100 Palms Residences. So this 5-bedder, we are looking at an impressive 1528 square feet. And over here, you have one balcony, 2 balconies. So one in the master room and one in the living room area. But the main difference for this layout versus, let's say, the Garden Residences one, right? Because the Affinity one, the 5th bedroom is more of like a study, so it's a 4+ study. It's a bit hard to use that as comparison. So I will just use more of the Garden Residences one. So instead of having the foyer area for the private lift, this 100 Palms unit don't have that. So it's really, all the size is into the unit itself. But if you compare to Garden Residences, you see they are only at about 11 square feet difference. There is no wastage of space, right? That they don't have this private lift lobby. Of course, you don't count the private lift into the number of square footage, but the private lift lobby, that part is gone. And over here, some people, they might prefer all the bedrooms all on one side. And this one, right, you can see the bedroom, there is one over here and the rest is all on one side. And another thing that makes these 100 Palms Residences even more efficient is that they don't have this dry kitchen area. So really a lot of the space is purely allocated towards the unit itself, and it's more of the living area. It's not really on the kitchen or the dry kitchen area. But here you can still see that for the Garden Residences, even though they are the same size, you can see here they have this additional private lift lobby and they have this additional part in the dry kitchen area. So I think if you really want to go for value for money, right, if the quantum is exactly the same, I think this 100 Palms Residences unit definitely is the most value for money, even though it is the highest quantum and in terms of PSF it is the highest. Let me know in the comment section, right, how do you guys feel about this comparison? Because for me, I think this is the main reason why 100 Palms actually outperformed the other two developments. Okay, so next up we have the price comparison between the three developments. Here I have the recent transactions for these three condominiums, and I'm just using the reference of around the transacted prices near 100 Palms residences. So the most recent transactions we have is 3 million and 2.7 million. But over here you can see at Affinity, right? The most recent transactions, they are actually all the 4-bedroom types that is similar in terms of quantum. And they are looking at 2.9 million, 2.6, 2.8 million. For their 5 bedrooms, right, or the cluster houses, they are already at the 2,300 square feet range. So it's totally a different ball game. And of course, you have to include all the staircase and the car park porch. So in terms of the size itself and the unit efficiency, it's a bit hard to compare because it's more of a landed kind of layout rather than a normal 5-bedroom type. And they're asking is in the 3.4 million, 3.5 million range already. And over here at Garden Residences, we have for the 5 bedrooms, 2.8 million, 2.7 million, 2.8 million, 2.9 million. So you can see when we compare the layout versus these three, you can see the similarities in terms of 100 Palms Residences in terms of the quantum versus Garden Residences. It's like, because their layout is not too far off, it's going to be quite similar. But for Affinity, because the unit layout types for the bigger types is much higher quantum, so we don't really see, I don't think it's a fair comparison. So most people, right, when they're comparing, if they need for own stay and maybe it's a multi-generational home, because usually for 5 bedrooms buying in the OCR region is you include maybe normal family nucleus plus a helper and then maybe plus the parents. So usually it's 3 generations or more. And over here you need as many bedroom type as possible. So maybe that's why the 4 bedroom types, even though the 1711 square feet unit was bigger, but it didn't really appeal to the buyer that bought the $3 million 100 Palms unit. And bear in mind, this $3 million, right, I just feel like it's quite strange also because there is a lot of other units at 100 Palms. If I'm not wrong, there's 5 other listings available and they could have gotten also the 5 bedders, maybe lower floor. I don't know the exact unit condition of this $3 million transaction, but as you can see, really the main difference is in terms of the layout and the quantum. Today, if you're buying regardless of 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom or 5 bedroom, right, you must already know who are your competitors over there, because this is very important to help you understand in the resale market, are you selling based on the quantum or are you selling based on layout? And is your layout the most superior one? And is your layout the best one amongst all the nearby developments, or you have something else better to offer? Over here we can clearly see actually Affinity is quite a nice development also. So I don't think they'll lose out to 100 Palms in terms of the quality of the development. But for 100 Palms Residences, I really think it wins in terms of this 5-bedroom layout. Garden Residences maybe can provide a close alternative for the amount of value you can get in the same space, right? Definitely 100 Palms Residences is the most value for money. I want to look closer at Affinity at Serangoon. So you can see, right, this period that is the time where they purchased, and there's quite a range of timing that they bought into from 2018 all the way to 2021. But the main point I want to highlight is the time they exited. And all of them actually exited around 2023 August to October timeframe. For the amount of profit they get, right, here was still like in the 800k range. This guy that bought in 2021 and then sold in 2023, I will kind of take out this transaction because it's an anomaly here. Now when we compare to the recent transactions we see from late 2023 all the way to 2024, right, most of the transactions yielded a lower profit as compared to those that exited right at 2023 period. If you ask me, right, I really think 100 Palms could have played a significant part when the buyers exited Affinity at Serangoon, because maybe some of them, they were already eyeing at the units at 100 Palms and they didn't feel like it was a much better layout. So that's why in terms of quantum and in terms of layout, they will still prefer waiting for 100 Palms Residences. So overall, you see the profit margin here is lower. So that's why just now I mentioned, always be aware about your future competitors having superior layouts or maybe development qualities. You see, those people that bought the resale during this period, right, I'm quite sure they actually already have paper loss because these recent transactions actually lowered the entry prices. So for the buyers that actually bought earlier in 2023, they already should be experiencing some sort of paper loss because they have a better alternative at 100 Palms Residences and Gardens Residences. Okay, so now we're looking at the EC price comparison. I've compiled the past 2 years transaction in the EC market, and this is regardless of whether it's a new launch or a resale EC, because to me, right, most ECs is gonna be fully privatized at the 10-year mark. Then EC is also the cheapest form of resale condo. So right now, if you already see this kind of benchmark coming up at the EC new launch or resale market, right, then you kind of can gauge what is gonna happen also for the OCR 5 bedrooms that is non-EC. 100 Palms transacted the highest PSF, 2001, and this is at District 19, TOP 2019. And next up, we have Orel of Tampines. So this is really quite impressive. We can see transacting already at 1829 PSF, and mind you, this is a EC, new launch EC. So over here, the quantum, right, for the 5 bedrooms is up to 2.4 million already. When you think about it, right, for these 5 bedrooms, if the buyers are still able to buy this with a 16K income restriction using 30% of their monthly payment, right, this is very impressive because it means that these buyers, they most likely bought around $1 million loan, and then the remainder will be 1.4 million in cash and CPF, and you still have to account for buyer's stamp duty. So definitely in the resale EC and even the new launch EC, right, these are not poor buyers at all. Actually, in fact, when I go to some of the ECs, I do see a lot of them driving sports car like Lamborghini. Some of them even have Ferrari, all this in the EC car park. Right now, you can kind of see who are the buyers for EC. And just to share with you my experience also on the market, right, I recently also been serving quite a few buyers. They are looking at the resale condominiums, let's say in the OCR area. So let's say I take an example at Riverfront Residences. My buyer actually put an offer for the 3-bedder. So the PSF for the high floor, it was about $1,900 PSF for the 3 bedrooms. So Riverfront Residences is actually TOP in 2023. So today is about 2 years old. I was quite surprised that the owner actually rejected this $1,900 per square feet because the previous transactions was only in the 1,007, 1,008 PSF range. And of course, you can tell me that there is the recent tariffs or that. I still see for own stay, for need rather than want or investment, right, there is still very strong demand for all these own stay units and developments, like let's say Riverfront Residences or even 100 Palms. So I still foresee sellers having very strong pricing power in this current market situation. Yeah, this is just the 2 cents I have. Maybe the next few months, sellers might soften because I know a lot of buyers are actually more cautious right now. But just to share, right, this is what is happening even in the EC, resale and new launch market. So if actually today is a good time to start looking around for good deals, especially when most people are going to be on the sidelines. So definitely this transaction at 100 Palms Residences in the EC resale market is very, very impressive, and I really think this is a sign of things to come, especially for the demand for needs-based. So currently, if you have a similar budget range and then you're looking at 5 bedrooms, do feel free to reach out to me because I think this is definitely a good deal. We have similar traits as what we see at 100 Palms Residences, and you are almost buying a much newer property at a 2019-year-old price. So I think definitely this one has some room to grow. And at the same time, if you found my analysis good, you can feel free to leave a like and subscribe because this will definitely help my channel grow, and also reach out to those that might find this information useful for them. And also, if you like my current video on how I do the analysis for 100 Palms Residences, you can also check out my previous video which is outlining the entire Singapore property market for the rest of 2025, and also the previous videos on how I break down the certain new launches. And if you have any further questions, do feel free to reach out to me. Alright, cheers, bye!